had a few things I wanted to get your thoughts on. One of which this will make people mad no matter what we say, was AI. Because I remember one of the things I remember seeing you post was that you found that your book had been read by AI or something. Like you found your book had been used in an AI trainer. I'm just interested because it's something that I'm trying to navigate. I've used AI for like character art and stuff, and I'm pulling back and getting more and more hesitant on it. So what happened with that? And what do you think about AI?
So, first, I pretty much despise AI. Let me back up. I despise generative AI.
Mhm.
So basically, type in a prompt and spit out a product because most of the time, people's work that gets trained on, they're not compensated for. So there's like a creative copyright infringement, which leads me to the AI book training database. So there was a large language model training on all of these works, and I believe there was, like, something like 7 million books in this database,
Wow.
and, I was able to search on somebody built an engine that was connected to the database that you could search to see if your book was on there, and my book was on there. So, when people found out,
How did it get on there? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but how did it get on there? Did it buy your book?
I don't believe it bought my book, so I think pretty much all of the works were pirated. Eventually people found out and were really, really upset, especially the authors. So a lawsuit was brought forward. And recently the lawsuit had reached a settlement where if your book was found on the database and had been copyrighted via the actual like copyright department or office, then you could get up to $3,000 in compensation per work. So I was like, okay, great. 3 grand. That's awesome. But my book didn't make the cut for compensation, even though it was used because I didn't go through the official copyright channels. So yes, it's copyrighted by like just existing. I think that's called like intellectual copyright. But if you want like an actual documentation, official form or whatever, you actually have to pay the copyright office to get that done. I didn't get any compensation for my book being used.
What does the intellectual copyright get you then? Does it just get you that they have to remove it or something?
I really don't know if it I don't know a lot about copyright laws. I probably should know
Yeah.
more than I do, especially after this incident, but I think it just protects you from like somebody stealing your idea.
Does that mean you reject generative AI, like in principle, always? Or do you think, like, is there any caveat to that, or you just don't use it as a matter of principle?
I don't use it on a matter of principle. It's kind of like a blanket. I feel like um so before I did use it in the very beginning when it was kind of like the new hot thing that came out, but then once I figured out all of the potential ethical violations behind it, I didn't do it anymore.
My sister's a Catholic artist, and she's got an Etsy shop, and I know she's been hurt by AI. Yeah, and I appreciate your perspective. So a couple of years ago, I generated a bunch of character art, and it took a long time, but I'm sitting here thinking I can get it to do the right style I want, and I could get the characters to look exactly like I want. And I thought it was really cool, and I posted it. I was excited about it. Here recently, though, like last week, I actually removed a link to all. I had a bunch of AI images like showing off my imagination. And one of the lines I always drew was, I'm never going to profit from this. Like, I'm never going to use it for my cover. I'm
Mm-hmm.
never going to sell a bookmark. I'm never going to sell art. But more and more recently, I mean, it's getting harder for me to defend to the point where I don't know that I can anymore. Even just like posting, I still like mess around with it. I think it's kind of fun sometimes, but it's it's removing the human element. Well, it's robbing the human element from art
Hmm.
and then generating art without the human element, which to me is what gives art its value. Like it's the soul that creates the art that makes the art worth something. So you're really just getting a Frankenstein, right? You're getting a an imitation that is in fact pushing out real artists and limiting the expression of real art. And so that bothers me a lot. And especially now, like in 5 years, are we really not going to have completely AI written novels that are being sold in stores? I feel like we're going to. They just had a song. There's some country song. It's high up on some chart, but it's completely AI generated, AI
Yeah.
singer, AI song, and people are buying it. People are paying money for it. So of course people are going to leverage AI, and of course that's going to end up hurting real artists. And I think that's a shame. And with literature, like when it starts happening, because like I said, I think it will, you're gonna lose some connection to souls that create art. Society will lose that, which is bad for society. It like drains the life out of society.
There
So
are some AI generated books, like front, like cover to cover is completely AI generated. Somebody bought an ebook of some romance novel, and they found that the Chat GPT prompt was left in. It
uh,
wasn't, forgot to take it out when they were editing it. And there's
mhm,
so much AI on Kickstarter, which is where I go to like all of my author peers. If they launch special editions, I'll go to there and back them. And as I'm active on Kickstarter, Kickstarter will recommend me, here's some other crowdfunding you like. I might have liked them, but I see the AI covers for like the whole series, and I'm just like, you're already raising money for the book. Why not just tie in the cost to hire a human artist
mhm.
instead of like keeping all of the profits to yourself and just doing AI for all of it? Like,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, my my opinion is I do not like generative AI. There are some uses AI can be used for, but generative AI for literature, art is not it.
Yeah, I like I said, it's getting harder and harder for me. And I made some really cool stuff. I animated some of the character art I have, and it looks awesome.
Well,
So
not potential readers that just get so mad and like start dissing on
mm,
every post just because you posted something that's AI. You're gonna bring
yeah,
in all of the studies, and then the algorithms will be like, "This is an anti-AI post. Let's share it with more people who hate AI." And then you just reach the wrong audience, and then it's just a lot of activity on your posts. Like, this is not what I wanted, but
yeah.
just a lot of witch hunts nowadays, especially with the rise of Sora.
Is that okay? What's Sora? I've heard it, and I don't. I'm kind of living under a rock sometimes.
Yeah, so Sora is the latest generative AI video model.
Uh,
So not only does it generate consistent, very convincing imagery, but it's also generating all of the sound as well. There's a ton of people using like celebrities and
uh,
political figures and newscasters to say things in a very convincing way. Like there's hardly any tells you wouldn't be able to tell unless you
mhm,
actually tried to find the raw footage. On the more positive side, it was either created for people who wanted to a quick way to get art without, breaking their personal budget. But on the bad side of the spectrum, it's, based on like the news and politics and world leaders doing things that they might not have done, or good people doing bad things and where they won't be trusted anymore, maybe like church leaders or something like really damaging to their reputation. And it's just like we're reaching a point, even now, we're reaching a point where everybody's starting to question. There's always the ever present question in the back of their mind of seeing a video, is this AI? Because of
mhm.
how convincing the latest models, particularly Sora, is.
I was talking about this at work, and one of the things we talked about was the exponential pace. So I didn't know exactly what Sora was. So thank you for explaining that to me. But I'm very familiar with these new AI videos that you cannot tell that it's not real. It's this thing where once again, I'm like stopping short of wholesale condemnation because intrinsically is it wrong to like use it? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, but it's definitely going to be used by people for nefarious purposes, as you said. It's definitely going to be used to manipulate people for personal gain from people that are not looking out for your best interest,
Yeah.
to sway public opinion. And is the net going to be positive from AI? It's really hard for me to think that. I'm really big on silence. So if you listen to me talk for more than about 10 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about how silence is really important. And, noise is one thing, but noise when you can't trust any of it is that's a whole nother level of something straight from the pits of hell, if you will.
Yeah.
Not to be a curmudgeon again, but oh man, it's scary, and raising kids in it, our kids we're gonna have to figure out how do we have our kids navigate all of that. But it's a very unique challenge because it's not something we had to go through, right? So we didn't grow up having to navigate an AI filled world where you don't know what's real and what's not. So it's
Yeah.
harder as a parent to teach your kids about that.